What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to yet another episode of the Empowerment Perspective podcast. On this episode, we sit down with the creator of the Pillars of Hammonton, as well as the owner and principal of the Reed School in Hammonton, Mr. Sam Seitles. Listen as we talk about everything from fatherhood to pro wrestling to education. As always, stay empowered.
If you were still trying to build those kind of memories, you'd be a loser, man. Like, you ever see people like that? It's like, no, you gotta live for your kids now and find a love for that. Find the fun in that. Right. Of course, do your own thing. You have your own hobbies. But yeah, having a selfish outlook on parenting, right. You shouldn't be parents.
It's the Empowerment Perspective podcast, hosted by Demiso Josie and Mr. Kareem Spence. Stay empowered. Stay empowered. All right, welcome to yet another episode of the Empowerment Perspective podcast. I go by the name of Dr. Demiso A. Josie, and I'm floating solo today. Got a special guest in the building, but I'll get to that in a second. Just some housekeeping things. Thanks for those people that are following us on the Empowerment Perspective podcast and our Empowerment Perspective group. We have some major things we're working on. We're always working on major things. San Antonio, to my friends down in Texas, we'll be down there to the Innovative School Summit in November. I think it's we're down there on the 14th, 15th, and 16th. Check us out, how to reach and teach today's hip-hop generation. So make sure you go down there and, come learn some things from us. We also have on December 7th, our third annual toy drive is coming back. We donate toys to CHOP, the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, making donations to those families out there. So if you cannot make it to the party, if I didn't send you an invite, hit me up. You can always donate a toy, unwrapped toy, and we do that. We also have our food drive coming up for the holidays, for Thanksgiving. So we're still looking for some needy families and organizations out there for that, but we will be collecting food and putting together some packages for some families during the holiday season. It's that time of the year when we do give back, when we love to do it here at the Empowerment Perspective, and that's what we're all about. So I want to introduce the world to somebody I just met not too long ago. My understanding, he was a former professional wrestler. He's in education, runs the Reed School over there. Is that Hammonton still?
It's in Hammonton. Yeah, so, always in Hammonton.
Always. So highly recommended for me to be on this podcast. And, if you heard my podcast with the Pillars of Hammonton, he's a expert in podcast land.
Whoa!
Yes, expert. Right?
Now you're setting the bar high for me. I did it to you.
Absolutely. Got to give it back.
Wow.
But, Sam Seitles, that's how you say it, right?
Yes, sir.
Seitles, welcome to the Empowerment Perspective podcast. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing. It's weird being on this side of the microphones.
I know.
This is what I've been doing to people.
Yes. I felt the same way on your show. I was like, I came home to my wife. I was like, I don't know. It felt kind of weird.
It's like I've done a million of these now.
Ask the questions. Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Interesting. So we're going to get into your story and some of the things that you got going on. But we have a segment here called Take It Personal on our show. And usually Mr. Petty's here and he answers the question. So I'm going to give you a scenario. You're simply going to answer, am I taking this too personal? Okay? So this has been happening to me for a long time. I've been speaking a lot and doing a lot of programs, and wherever I go, I see people kind of stealing my ideas. And I kind of feel like, it's in the spirit of helping other people. I shouldn't really take it too personal, but it's happening and happening and happening. To the point where it's like very identical things. I had some of you know I have the 10-day film challenge out there. There was a teacher out in Jackson, New Jersey that stole the idea to the T, but they only kept it in New Jersey. Then I have some things coming up in the future that I share with some people, and they stole the idea again. But it's in the spirit of helping people. Should I be taking this personal that people are stealing my ideas, or should I just let it go?
You should be taking it personal, but also let it go. Let me explain myself. Yes. Okay, first of all, I'm realizing every time you say something, I'm like, me and this guy have so much in common. Me too. Like, I'm always coming up with stuff for the camp, for the school, and then all of a sudden I see another school doing it. I'm thinking, wait a minute, how dare they?
Right.
But then I think to myself, hasn't everything been stolen and stolen and stolen again? every idea comes from other ideas.
Right.
And in this, and you hit the nail on the head. It's like, it's for the kids. And what are you going to do about it? You're going to go to them and tell them to stop using your ideas? You can't use it on your kids.
Absolutely. You gotta understand something. See, I come from the hip hop generation in that era where you couldn't say somebody else's rhymes, or else you would get angry at that person. Like it was about being authentic.
Is it not like that anymore?
It's not like that anymore. People steal stuff all the time now. But back then, I'm talking back in like the 80s, the late 80s, 90s, they called it biting. You couldn't bite somebody else's lyrics, and then they would confront you about copying their lyrics. So I come from this generation, like, be a little bit original. And, I should confront these people, I feel. But in the spirit of helping, I get it.
Yeah. So I've dealt with the same thing, and what I do is I take it personally, and then I let it go.
So I should take it personal for a second.
Yeah, just a second, because you should, man. You thought of it. You're the one who put in the work. It's your child. You birthed it. But what are you going to do, man? People.
I was petty. So the competition guy that stole the competition, I signed up as a school to be a part of.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
I'm very, very petty.
I've thought about doing that. I've thought about being like, let me get a little insider to find out how they're doing that. Yeah. No, but let it go, brother.
All right, I'll let it go. I'll let it go.
You'll do it? All right.
Yeah, I'll let it go. So let's get into it a little bit, because you're not from New Jersey, right?
Nah, I've been all over the place, man.
Okay. So where were you born?
Born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri.
Really?
Midwestern boy.
Seriously?
Yeah.
My nephew's out there playing for WashU out there.
Oh, no way. My parents went to Washington University.
Okay.
Yeah. That's where they met. Then I went to Florida, and if you've heard stories about Florida, they're all true. It's a crazy place to grow up in when you're a teenager.
Right.
Moved to New York City, and now I'm in Hammonton. I know, New York City to Hammonton. It's crazy, right?
How did you get to Hammonton?
So my wife and I were teaching in the city. Pays pretty good. We had kids in the city. Not a good place to raise kids. So we leave the city, we buy a house, and we're commuting into the city. And commuting into New York City with a baby, it is something else. Those were the dark times. And eventually we just decided we need to go out and find a job near us. Like I said, New York City paid well.
Right.
We're going from one school to another, and nobody's offering us like half.
Yeah.
It's like half. So eventually we go to this one school. The principals are about to retire, and they look at us and they say, we've been looking to give this school or sell the school to some people that would take good care of it. Would you be interested? Of course we said no. Take over a school, like, who thinks about that?
Right.
But a month later, the conversation started, and push come to shove, we worked our way to owning our own school. It wasn't that school. We actually went to several, but it wasn't until we saw the legend that is Miss Dina at Reed Preschool in Hammonton that we found what would be our best lives.
Wow, that's crazy. So was education always like the plan for you? He laughs.
Bro, if you were to tell my teachers that I was going to be a teacher one day, they would have been scared. Yeah, no, I wasn't even interested in learning when I was a kid. I was 100% into learning pro wrestling. Very obsessive, man.
This was the era like Jimmy Superfly Snuka.
Met him. I could show you a picture of me and him together. Yeah, I asked him before my match. I said, "Hey, man, do you mind if I jump off the top rope? I know it's your move." And he's like, "Oh, brother, you do whatever you want, dude." I'm just like, "Okay, Jimmy Snuka."
That's funny. So you had a character and everything?
I had many, many characters.
What was your favorite one?
It's hard to say because so many of them are very personal to me, and some of them I don't like sharing. I'm a principal of a school now. I take care of kids, and pro wrestling, you act like a character, just like any actor in a movie. And if you were to show maybe your kid something Brad Pitt did in Fight Club, you'd be like, I don't want that guy teaching my kid. So I keep the two worlds separate, but at the same time, I take everything that I learned with pro wrestling with me when I'm teaching, when I'm talking to parents, when I'm doing my thing.
So are these characters personal? Like, how do you develop those things, or is it something that you've seen somebody else's life, and like how you come up with the idea? You don't have to talk about specifically character, but the process of becoming.
Well, there's a thing pro wrestlers like to say, and that's magnify your personality times 10. Mm-hmm. So I just started off with that. Mm-hmm. You know, I was just acting. I'm a pretty energetic guy, I've been told. So I did that times 10. I was wild, jumping off the top rope, sticking my tongue out, you know, jumping into the audience. You know, I just like brought the thunder whenever I came out there, you know. And from there, we just found different characters. Like, you know, there's a... You know, if you didn't know, there's like a good guy and a bad guy. Yeah. So all of a sudden I would turn that into usually I was a good guy, but I would turn into a bad guy, and then I was like real mischievous and pulling some mean pranks, even on the audience members. And that's how you do it. If you're not true to yourself in wrestling, people see right through it. You see Hulk Hogan, you see Ultimate Warrior, you see Macho Man Randy Savage, The Rock, those guys. They're great because they're also like that in real life. Right. Let me tell you something. When I met Macho Man Randy Savage, it was like meeting Macho Man Randy Savage. Wow. And I was just hanging out, sitting down with him, just chatting, you know?
That's interesting. So I saw a picture recently. Halloween was just the other day, and I seen you. I think you were on a float of some sort.
Sure was, sir.
I can see the transition of how you're using the wrestling characters and doing something, you know, bringing it to something that you love. Was it a school float or just was?
Yeah. First of all, shout out to my teachers, man. That was all them. We got first place, and let me tell you something, little secret. They did that in like one day. Wow. One panicked day. Wow. But yeah, they made it look beautiful. And yeah, I take my pro wrestling there. You know, my favorite part, man. So I was Maui. You ever see Moana? Yeah, you have daughters. Of course you have. I've seen it 1,000 times. So I knew that character. Mm-hmm. And so I'd be looking at all these adults, you know, looking at them saying, "Of course you're staring at me. I'm Maui." And when I would say that, they'd be like, "Oh, do I keep looking? Do I look away?"
My little kid was like staring at you like, "It is him."
It's really Maui.
It's crazy.
It was fun. And that's how cool is that I get these kind of opportunities in Hammonton to still get to be out there and to be a showman to some degree, you know? It's fun.
So where'd your passion come from to teach? Like, where did that come from?
Okay.
Especially since you weren't going that route to begin with.
Yeah. Well, not to be cheesy, but I always was very motivated to do something important with my life. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just been in my head since I was a kid. I think I got that from wrestling, too. You know, lessons maybe a Hulk Hogan told me or something like that. And one day, a friend of mine asked me if I wanted to work in an aftercare program at a school. I was like, with kids? He's like, yeah. I was like, all right, whatever. Right. And I go there, and I'm finding that I'm really loving it. But it's in Florida, and it is hot out there. So after a while, I finally just said, you know what, kids, let's go inside to a classroom. Against what my boss said. So she fired me that day. She said, you know, Sam, if you're not going to listen to me, leave. Rightfully so. People, you got to listen to your bosses. Right. Come on now. But...
I'm not going to go in there right now. We'll come back to that.
Yeah. But the next day, I'm going into high school, and I get this phone call. The principal... my principal says, Sam, someone's calling you from your job. And I was like, that's funny. I don't have a job anymore. And it's the principal saying, you know, a lot of parents are calling and they're going to take their kid out of the school or out of the aftercare program. You know, we could work it out. Would you like to come in? And they had me come back in. I asked for a raise with that. I got it. I got the hours I wanted. Nice. And that wasn't the favorite part. My favorite part was I got nervous. I was walking in. I was going to see these people. You know, I'm not a very confrontational guy. I didn't know how it was going to go down. But I walked in, and this sea of children just ran towards me, yelling out, "Mr. Sam!" and just gave me this hug. And they're walking with me towards the playground. The whole time I'm thinking, I'm like, you know, maybe I could do something with this. Like, maybe I can. I didn't take it too seriously because, you know, pro wrestling was still my life. I figured, you know, maybe I would major in education and see where that took me. Right. Yeah, and here I am, you know?
Crazy. And these were little kids, right? Like, they were like elementary age?
These were 4th and 5th graders that I was taking care of at the time.
Right. And I've been on every single level of education, and I find it interesting. Like, kids now come hug me because they're in elementary school, and then when they get older, like, that love for their teachers kind of goes away. I don't understand what happens.
Oh, I'll tell you what I tell my kids. When they leave 5th grade, I say, look, something's going to happen. Mm-hmm. Don't talk to me for a couple of years. Something's going to happen. Right. It's true. I used to teach 7th grade PE. Mm-hmm. I would teach all the other subjects, but I would have my former, history students who were in 5th, 6th grade before, I would have them now in like 6th or 7th grade in PE. Oh my gosh, I would loathe that moment of the week. They were so mean to each other. So mean to each other. Yeah, no more hugs then.
No more hugs. Maybe that's it. The hormones start to go crazy.
That's it.
And then it's all downhill from there.
Happened to me too. I don't know about you, sir.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah. I can say. I was never warm and fuzzy to any of my teachers growing up.
Oh, really?
Not really. I mean, I was a decent kid. I behaved in class, but I don't remember a teacher I was hugging like, I'm glad to see such and such every single day.
Do you attribute that to the teachers at all, or just who you were at that time? I think
it was just who I was, especially because I was going through so much stuff.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah, that kind of thing. But it's interesting. I actually ran into a parent in Wawa the other day whose kid now is at the middle school, and she was like, what a big difference. Like, the staff, the elementary school was fun, they had personality, and then here's, kid now it's all business. And me and my partner, Kareem Spence, we talk about, when we go talk to educators, we need to bring the fun back into teaching. I don't care what grade that you're in, middle school, high school, the kids should want to come to school to have fun and learn at the same time. It doesn't necessarily always have to be business all the time.
Well, that's my ultimate goal, because I never had fun when I was a kid in school.
Right.
I would spend my days like 8 hours a day daydreaming. That was my life for many years. It's crazy to say that now, and I hope no one looks down on me like, here's this principal who didn't pay attention in school. Yeah. But that's how it was. I had to self-educate myself while I was a teacher.
Well, listen, I will also talk all the time and try to get my students, or specifically the older kids that can understand it, is that when I ask them, I say, what is the job of a teacher? And they'll say to teach. I said, the problem with that is it makes you passive. You're waiting for somebody to give you something. You need to be more active and go after your education. Realistically, if you did that, if every student went in there and really went after their education, the teacher could just come in and say, there's a test on Friday on this, and walk out the room, especially with today's technology and everything, and I can look and Google anything that I want and get the information from. Stop being passive learners and be more aggressive with your education. Go take your education. You know what I mean? A lot of what I've learned in my life is because I've learned it, not because somebody taught it to me. Even at this age, that's why I read so much, and that's why I do so many things. I'm still in that mode.
Yeah, and you have to get them wanting to learn themselves. Or let me go back to that. Let me rewind, because I was thinking of something. Do you think that anything has to do with the curriculum, the fact that it's math and language, math and language, math and language, but here's Johnny over here who really wants to know about rhinos, right. You know?
Absolutely. And we talked about it a little bit on your podcast too. I think there's a difference between content and skill development. We're so worried about the content part of it. That's why I have to learn specific these periods in history, or I have to learn writing and these things. I don't want to say writing, but the content of whatever it is the curriculum is saying, as opposed to just the skill. If they really focused on the skill, then we go back to the student and say, well, what is your interest? Like how, you're into wrestling. So I'm going to use wrestling for you to learn these particular skills.
If my teachers did that back in the day, I'd be a genius right now.
Education needs to be more personal.
It does. Is that why you think it's not fun anymore? Do you think it's just not personal? They're just trying to get that information out there and into their heads? Yeah,
I think that's a big part of it. And I think a big part of it is the system that we live in the society. Right? Especially you talk about capitalism. There's a winner and a loser. It has to. That's how the system works.
Big time here. Big time winners, big time losers, right?
So it's almost that same way in education. Otherwise, what are you really giving out grades for? Why are you measuring schools against schools?
Right.
And it's based upon competition. Somebody's going to have to lose at some point. So then they'll say, well, all right, well, here's the bar. I set the bar. Your school's failing because now you aren't at this particular bar. But that school, if you look at the history of that school, they maybe had the biggest progress that they've had in years.
Right.
But because they don't meet this standard across the board, they're seen as, a failure. And everything's it's too competition based.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be. Mm-hmm. We're all in this together. Right. If you want to go to have a competition, go out there in basketball courts and play. The classroom's no place for competition. Maybe friendly competition, but not to see who's for lack of a better word, I guess they would think is who's smarter. I'm smarter than you. I got better grades. It's not the place for that. No.
And you have different learners. Some kids, all they're going to be is doing skate by. But that doesn't mean they're not intelligent. You just haven't tapped into their ability, whatever it is that they're interested in.
My sister will never learn math. Yeah, she's very smart. My sister's extremely smart, but for some reasons, numbers, she just can't figure it out.
Right.
But man, can you imagine what her life was like for 12 years? Going into college, more math classes for someone who's just smart. She studies, she works hard, but just can't figure it out.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy. There's so many things that we can talk about in terms of education. Just how the system itself is set up. For example, the makeup of Hammonton is different than the makeup of, let's say, Williamstown.
What do you think of the makeup of Hammonton?
Strangely enough, when I first got there, I didn't know what to think of it. People call it the bubble, right?
No doubt. No doubt.
The bubble. But it has a very unique, distinct characteristic, which I love about it. It's a big community, and everyone's kind of tied into that community. There's a lot of pride that's going in there. I think the only thing that probably hurts it is its actual physical location, because it's like, I don't want to say it's in the middle of nowhere. From an education standpoint, if I'm trying to hire teachers, I can't find a lot of people that want to go into education in that particular area.
Oh, wow.
Not near anything.
I never thought about that.
So the pool's real small. Whereas you're closer to the cities and Cherry Hills and all that stuff, there's probably a bigger pool of students to grab from. The location itself is...
Teachers, okay, I haven't been to all this of the different schools. I've only been to ECEC, and I've been there many, many times for meetings, for my own children. They are amazing there. The positivity that I feel from those teachers in that meeting it is real. And I think other teachers from afar need to know that, because I think it's worth coming in town for that kind of environment.
In terms of I wasn't raised in Hammonton. They kind of embraced me and they took me in, and it's definitely a great place to work. And
they let you teach hip hop.
They let me. Actually, they didn't. When I first started teaching, I had the TV media curriculum. And this is before I stepped foot in the classroom. I had to write the curriculum myself and teach it myself. So they kind of gave me free reign.
That's awesome.
To do it and develop the program. So, I mean, there's room for that in certain areas. But even within the curriculum, what makes a great teacher is be able to take that and make it fun for the kids. You know what I mean? That's the artistry of teaching, and they're going to learn because they want to be there, and that's how you get. I'm your favorite teacher. Blah blah blah. Years later,
right.
Mr. Such and Such from third grade and all that stuff. It's a personality thing, and sometimes it doesn't work. Some kids, it's oil and water sometimes, and you have to figure out a way to get that.
That's why I tell people there's just so many variables, and you have to be able to mold your skill set to whatever classroom that comes in.
Yep.
You said artistry, and you're absolutely right. It's an art. Did you ever see the movie Waiting for Superman?
I did.
Do you remember when that one man said that watching a good teacher do something amazing is like watching Jordan slam from the free throw or something like that?
Yeah.
I feel the same way.
Yeah. The bad part about it is I look at it as we have 180 days to save this kid's life at the end of the day, because they're going to move on to somebody else after they've left my grade or whatever. So 180 days is a short period of time in the grand scheme of things. So I approach every single day, even as a principal now, I approach it every single day like I only have this amount of time with this child.
So what do you do with that time? I love that about you.
Right.
What do you do?
I'll start by developing. To me, education is more about relationship building than anything else, from a teacher's standpoint. So I have to develop a relationship with them. So in the beginning, I'm learning. Well, that one likes Spider-Man, or that one likes Wonder Woman, or that one likes to read a lot. That one likes to whatever. So I'll put myself in situations to learn from those kids. Then I'm using that as one motivational tool, engagement tool. Once I've built that relationship, now I can move you over here and we can learn and talk about that. And it becomes a safe place for them to make mistakes. So that's another big thing, is you have to create a safe environment for them to make mistakes. So I actually want that to happen. I want you to be uncomfortable, because that's where growth is, right? So if you even think about it from the physical nature, when you were born, babies come out crying because there's it's uncomfortable to them. They're teething, they're crying because growth
must
happens.
Be terrible. Must be terrible.
That's where growth happens. It's in those moments that they're uncomfortable. So I always will try to create an environment, safe environment, where the student feels a little bit uncomfortable. Whether I'm pushing them beyond levels that they ever thought they would be, like, you know, when they were doing multiplication, when they never ever thought they could do. But I'm always trying to find situations where they kind of feel uncomfortable. Part of the reason I do podcasts with the kids, put a microphone in front of them. You see them wheezing and they, you know.
Oh, not just the kids, the adults too.
But when they come out of that experience, like, I can do this, and you never know where it will take them.
Yeah, you never know.
Never know. But you have 180 days to create those opportunities for them.
That's so cool, man.
So it's really, really interesting. Let's talk about, because you run and operate a school, which is different than teaching. It's two sides of the game almost. Like, talk about the operations of a school and how did you, is that a comfortable space for you, or are you more the person that, like, I like just to teach? Is there, you know, there's two different sides to this.
Right. So I'm definitely not a paperwork guy. I would mess that thing up for sure. I think most of my clients, most of the parents know there's a Miss Lisa question and there's a Mr. Sam question. Billing, all that stuff, that's Miss Lisa. I can't do that. I'm in front of the kids. I don't just teach, you know, I also give tours. The podcast, that's part of, me advertising who I am to the town, because the town didn't know me when I came in, and I'm trying to do everything I can to let them know that I want what's best for all the kids of Hammonton. So I do a lot of things. Lisa does a lot of things, and we got this yin and yang thing going. I used to tell my principals when I used to teach, I used to tell them, I'd be like, there's no way I would ever want your job. There's no way I could do it, because they're at the end of the line.
Absolutely.
It's like, okay, if I had a parent who was very upset, which didn't happen often, but if it did happen, I knew I always had the principal I could send them to. You got to talk to my boss. There's nobody now. I'm the end of the line.
End of the line, yeah. And to me, people ask me that all the time, like, how does that feel? I'm like, every decision that I make is for what I think is best for the kids at the end of the day, all of them. So I'm not only just thinking about that one kid that's in my office. I'm thinking about all 180 of them. My decision right now can impact.
I feel like you could answer my questions for me. You've got the same answers I do, man. That's exactly what I say. Even if it's like I said, it doesn't happen often, but if there's something that's not going to be easy, all I think is like, look, Sam, you're doing whatever's best for the kids, so feel good about it.
Yep, and go to sleep at night knowing that I did the best I could, with the spirit of I'm helping these kids. It may not work. It might fail. I might make the wrong decision, but my heart is in the right spot.
It's all about intent. What's your intentions?
Absolutely. So let's transition over to the podcast since you mentioned that.
You're talking about the Pillars of Hammonton?
Yes, the Pillars of Hammonton.
Pillars of Hammonton.
You can check that out on Podbean, right?
Podbean, iTunes, probably Chrome, I don't even know, man. We're out there, all over, and we have a fan page if you want to check that out on Facebook.
Absolutely. Where did the idea come from?
Well, it actually came from doing it with the campers. Okay. I love podcasts. Like I say, self-educated. Like, most of it came from when I was on the trains in the subway in New York City. It's either look at the person's armpit next to me or have my face in a book. Okay. And that's when I started reading constantly every day and listening to podcasts when I'm walking on the street all day long. I am learning and learning and learning. So after years of that, I don't know, I just thought, like, maybe I could do a show with the kids. And I did. And we had so much fun, man. But what also happened was every now and then a parent would come and I'd have a reason to say, hey, you want to come on the Camp Tuscaloosa podcast? I was like, these podcasts with adults are, I'm getting a lot out of this. Like, I feel like they're getting a lot out of it. I am as well. I'm learning about them. I'm learning more about the town. Maybe I can keep going with this. And so I looked for some really popular people in town, did like 4 or 5 recordings, sent them out there, and before you know it, it's like I would have been happy if like 5 or 10 people listened. Like maybe my mom, my dad. It turned into like suddenly like 100, sometimes up to 400 for one of them are listening to these conversations, and I'm getting so much from it. Like being able to talk to the most interesting, important, special people in town. Getting to talk to you, I got so much from that conversation. This has been the coolest hobby of all time.
It's pretty fun, and it's not difficult to do. The space of podcast land, though, is very crowded right now, too.
I know. It's so oversaturated.
Yeah, so you have to find your niche. You got to find, your audience, your core audience, and then you just kind of build it, from there.
I'm not trying to make millions. I'm not trying to make $1 even. All I'm trying to do is talk to the people of Hammonton and let the rest of Hammonton learn about them.
Right.
And I think my audience, I've been finding my audience. And anytime someone comes up to me, I'm like, really? You're listening to this? To me, just talk?
Weird, right?
It's weird, right? Yeah. In fact, someone came up to me the other day and told me that she approached you about your podcast.
You know how many people said something to me?
How many people?
I would say at least 15 to 20, including students. I had a student the other day say, Mr. Josie, I listened to your podcast the other day. I was like, oh, okay. And then
how does it feel to you when someone says that?
At first it was kind of like, really? like really? And then now it's to the point now it's just like, I appreciate the fact that they're listening, and I appreciate the fact that they got something out of whatever, my story.
Okay, I'm in this weird place right now, though, where I appreciate it so much, but then I'll talk to someone, I'll have a conversation, and there's only so many things I can say, so many words that come to my mouth, so many stories, and I find myself talking about something with somebody and thinking to myself, wait a minute, they've probably already heard me say this 3 times before.
Already. Yeah, so I try to flip it and say that, because I believe everybody has a story of some sort, right? And I'm like, you have a story, you need to get your voice out there. Somebody's going to learn from your life on some level somehow. And a lot of people say, I'm not interested.
I know.
But you have a story. The simple fact that you are living and existing somewhere, you have a story that someone can learn from.
Do they tell you? They always tell me, they say, oh, I'm boring. I'm not interesting. I hear that all the time.
Yeah.
I wouldn't ask you if you're not interesting.
Right, that's funny. But doing this, I've met so many awesome people from across the country, and and it's just not only hearing their stories, but you also begin to network and you begin to develop certain things, and that's why the Empowerment Perspective gets into so many different things, because these people that we're just meeting and talking to.
Let me tell you something. I'm so glad I can segue into this. If I wouldn't have said this, I would have been very upset. So I might have to call upon you for some advice, because as a seasoned author, journalist, maybe, I have been called upon for journalism, sir. Yes. This is like a dream come true, because I also thought about doing journalism. Mm-hmm. Gina and Gabe from the Hammonton Gazette messaged me, and they said they want the Pillars of Parenting once a month.
Yes, that is so awesome.
So awesome. So once a month, my wife and I will write an article as best we can about, maybe a parenting tip, or, just let them know our perspective on it all. And then I plug the show,
You know what's so funny right now? Because I was going to segue into your fatherhood, because it's one of the big topics that I like to talk about, being a parent and being a father. So I kind of feel like the more and more we talk, we kind of are the same way.
We're just working.
It's crazy. So, my story and everything. So I take, my role as a parent very, very serious, because, my father specifically was not in my life for a long period of time, so it's really, really important to me. But then I'm at the age where a lot of people young men are starting to think about having families, and they come to me for advice and say, well, how do you do this thing? And I tell them all the time, there's not really a book that I could recommend you specifically. I believe in that as long as you develop some core values that you won't break from, and stick to those things, fatherhood kind of works itself out if your values are intact. When your values aren't intact, and that's when it becomes difficult for you. So let's talk about, I know for me, the moment I became a father, and I remember bringing home my oldest daughter, and we sat in that living room, me and my wife looked at my daughter, and my wife was like, I can't believe they let me bring her home. And then I looked at her and I was like, what do we do now? Like, that's where it all kind of started. Let's take it back to that moment when you brought your first child home, and what was that feeling? Okay,
that's not the moment I remember more than this moment, which came shortly after. The moment Lisa said, Sam, I need to go in the shower, and I'm going to leave you here with Jaden. And I was alone, and I'm standing over Jaden, just, come on, keep breathing. Just keep breathing. Everything's okay. Don't cry. Don't cry. It's going to be okay. But he's not crying. Oh, Sam, calm down. That's what that was like for me. Just like,
that's crazy.
Here I am 4 kids in, and I'm just like, all right, that fell on the ground. Just here, take it.
Right. It's kind of weird how like your first child, like you go over the top and everything.
Yeah.
And then here comes number 2, and it's kind of like, all right.
I feel bad for number 2.
You'll figure it out. It'll be fine and everything like that.
Yeah.
It's really, really interesting. And then my daughter was born in December, like around Christmas time. And we had just moved in. I think we were a little less than a year in here. So we had no money to give each other gifts or whatever. And I remember we had this big stocking, and we kind of put Simone in the stocking, and that was like our gift to each other that particular Christmas day. But like I said, the value system is really, really important. What would you say your core, let's say 3 values as a father would be? Heavy one, I know.
Oh, man.
I know.
Okay, my number 1 is always be there for them no matter what.
Absolutely.
Here's the thing, is that there, like we said before about the classroom, even more so for your kids. There's so many variables. I mean, and for people asking advice, it's like, well, look, Dr. Josie over here has 2 daughters. I guarantee you his house is a lot different than when I just had my 3 boys.
Absolutely.
You know, different dynamic. There's no perfect way of doing anything. So you're going to get different challenges than I'm going to get. Your challenges might be tougher, mine might be tougher.
Right.
But no matter what, till the very end, till the last day I am here, I am there for my kids. That's value number 1, and hopefully I pass it down onto them so they're that way with their kids, and maybe with their old mom and dad one day.
Absolutely.
My mom was always there for me, and my dad, and I wasn't always the easiest teenager by far. I had my own, depression and being rebellious, and I wasn't nice to them.
Right.
And I'm sure other parents could have very easily been like, fine, Sam, just go,
Yeah.
But no, they stuck it through, and I thank them every day.
That's interesting. That's this. I think being there for your kids obviously is a huge one. Spending time with them is really a big one too. What really blew my mind, because I have daughters. Somebody, older gentleman, had said, "You do realize that you're the first man that they will ever know." And once I got that mentality in my head, I said, well, I need to set the example for what, quote unquote manhood is going to look like.
Oh, did that really change you?
It completely changed the way, I saw not only my own daughters, but how I saw every other female like walking around. Like,
right. My wife told me she read your book and she loved it. Yeah.
It's just weird, man. And it's completely, until that person said that, like, I just kind of was still in my mode. Like, me and my wife, we've been together since middle school, and we were, I ain't gonna say like partiers like out of control, but we would be going on Thursday. I would look on the computer, catch this flight to New Orleans, and we'll be there for the weekend. We'll come back, and like this was.
You used to do that?
We used to do that like every weekend. So, but then my wife becomes pregnant, and then she slows down, but I'm still in go mode. So,
really?
Right, so it still was all about me until that person said that to me, and I was just like, you know what? I need to pull back the brakes. I need to figure this thing out.
So do you find yourself ever like itching to like do that young stuff again?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. The part of the parent perspective, we go travel and speak and do things. I still want to go and do that, but I'm working.
You're making it work.
Yeah, making it work.
Yeah, I still find my fun too. Yeah. Absolutely.
You have to find still a sense of who you are, and I felt like it was a period of time like I was losing a sense of who I was. Like, I would have to be, a husband to my wife, which I'm still trying to figure out to this day. And then I had to be a father to the kids. These are 2 different people, right?
Who are always changing.
Always changing. But that wasn't never part of my core who I was before that. So it was like I had to navigate this new me, you know what I mean? And kind of still find myself within all of that. So this is where podcast stuff come from and all the things that I do. And
all the partying and whatever it is you did before, I'm sure you learned so much from that.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm glad I did it, got it out of my system, but at the end of the day, I look back at as much money I wasted, and all I got is some pictures. You know what I'm saying?
You got memories?
I got memories, but realistically, I would never do it now because it doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm into building memories for my kids and families and things. Like, to me, that's way more.
Well, yeah, if you were still trying to build those kind of memories, you'd be a loser, man. Like, you see people like that, it's like, no, you got to live for your kids now and find a love for that. Find the fun in that.
Right.
Of course, do your own thing, have your own hobbies. But yeah, having a selfish outlook on parenting,
right.
You shouldn't be parents.
Yeah.
So whatever you're doing, man, it's really impressive. I think your story, how I know it's not over, but the chapter that you're in right now is beautiful.
It is. It's weird though, because it's like, and then I equate this to some of my students too. Like, they say the student that went through trauma, right, has gone through trauma. What they'll do is they'll go into the classroom and disrupt it because that's what they're used to. They know how to navigate trauma in that area, so they're going to create something that they're used to. So, for me, it was like this new life right now and family and everybody's healthy and everything's calm and quiet. It's like, this is weird. I'm not used.
Are you like waiting for something?
I'm
like
always waiting for the ball to drop. I ask my wife all the time, you got to change your mindset. I'm always thinking the negative because that's what I was used to. I know how to navigate that.
Yeah, you got this beautiful thing now.
Like,
that's the thing about having something so wonderful and beautiful is that fear of like one day it could go away,
And I got to take moments to sit back and like, I'm really enjoying this. Like, this is kind of cool. Like, last night we had, every Friday, and you probably see it on Facebook, me and my daughter have time. We'll go to a football game and take Friday selfies and that stuff.
Yeah.
It was too cold last night, so we had a card night, and my wife joined us for our Friday selfie fun thing. And we took the picture, and I kind of looked back. Everybody's playing cards, and I was just like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, before Friday night, I'm out, we partying, we flying, whatever. But I said, this the calm. Dog came in, cats came in, like, family was just.
Yeah.
I said, this is what it's about, like,
I had a moment a couple of years ago where I was thinking back to when I used to have this routine. You have this routine, going to bed routine. You take out this action figure, this toy, you say goodbye, you sing a song or two. Usually they want the same songs. At least my kids did. And it would, by the end of it with Jaden, I was just like, oh, again, not again. And then a couple of years later, I remembered like, God, I really miss that. I wish I could do it one more time. So I never have that feeling anymore.
You know what's eerie right now? You said your son's name's Jaden.
Yeah.
My youngest daughter's name is Jaden.
Yeah, I knew that.
That's crazy.
I know. Isn't that crazy? How much more are we going to figure out, man? It's crazy.
Absolutely crazy.
What, are you bald too? Hey, we're both bald. Look at that.
That's funny. But I think it's really nice that you got that article going. And so you and your wife are going to be writing it together?
Yeah, that's what we're going to have to figure out.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be from both of us. We're going to have to figure out how to make that work because we have very different styles. But hopefully we can get a yin and yang thing going for that as well.
That would be interesting. I would love to see just that, because you say you have different styles and obviously different perspectives, but it works though.
Yeah, and that's another thing, different perspectives. How are we going to write an article if we both have different perspectives?
But that might be the beauty of it, right? So you have the two different perspectives on this one particular topic.
Right, so that's why I might have to reach out to you or someone who's ever had to like write with someone else and put into a format two different voices.
It's parenting though, right? So a situation might happen with my kids. I may see it as not a big deal, but my wife might be completely, so we have to navigate and figure out, which route do we take? Sometimes I gotta fall back, and because you met my wife.
Wait, I got a question. I don't know if you want to answer this.
I'll answer.
How often do you fall back? What percentage of the time do you fall back?
I'm gonna say about 95%. I definitely fall back. Because to me, a lot of the stuff, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. You
stand forward on the ones that matter.
Right. And I know that my wife's not going to make a decision that's going to hurt my family. So, I may not agree with the perspective or her approach on certain things, but at the end of the day, she's going to do what she thinks is best. It's not going to hurt. There's more than one way to skin a cat. So it's like, okay.
Right, man.
I'll let you, but if there's something that I truly, truly believe in, and it happens here and there, I'll stand up and like, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
We'll do this.
Yeah.
Instead. But, and from the outside, the funny thing is people call my wife the alpha in the house. And, she's always making decisions and things. But at the end of the day, if I really wanted something to happen,
hold it down.
It would happen. But,
yeah.
And it's a yin and yang thing too. I mean, it's like any organization. If you take out you shouldn't have just one leader in an organization.
Right.
You take out the one leader, then the organization's falling apart. So if God forbid something happens to one of us, the family unit still functions. Because
so going back to what you were asking me about before, how I run it at my school, and that's how I do it, is that we have a lot of leaders there. Yeah, I'm the boss. You know, what I say goes. But I put much of the decision making into the hands of the teachers because I trust them. If I didn't trust them, I wouldn't hire them.
Yeah. Okay.
They are amazing. And first and foremost, they love the kids. You have to if you're at my school.
Absolutely. That's the number one thing I look for in a teacher is passion and your love for kids.
Yeah.
I can teach you how to teach. That's not a problem. I can't teach your passion and your care for kids. So anybody that's interested in going to the educational field, to me, it's about relationship building, your love for kids, and you need to be selfless. Like it's not about you, it's about somebody else.
And it's so important.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you are literally I think we talked about this before. You hear from your former students who are in their 20s now, as do I, and it feels good you were a part of that. They're doing well now, and I'm
actually gonna be on a podcast of one of my former students.
Get out of here! Full circle.
Really full circle there. So it's interesting. So what do you think are the core characteristics of someone that wants to? Actually, no. Let's go back. If somebody wants to open a school similar to yours, like what are some of the pitfalls that they might need to be worried about? Like what were some of your growing pains and the development?
Well, you're asking a very specific case because I moved into a school in Hammonton, New Jersey. Hammonton is not the most welcoming of places. Once you're in, you are in. Yeah. You will have people have your back. They will love you. It's unlike anything else.
Absolutely.
But also getting in is unlike anything else. And when you are taking over a school from Miss Dina, who is a legend in Hammonton, New Jersey, and you're watching everyone's kids, you have eyeballs on you. You have rumors said about you.
Of course.
Man, oh man, I was finding out rumors when I would go to the doctor's office. Like, oh, I heard you're going to take the fun out of the school. What? Fun is my thing. Seeing stuff written on Facebook that I can never unsee, and I'm a sensitive dude. So it's like, my wife, she was just like, Sam, they'll see our hearts. Just be quiet. But me, I'm just like, oh, I'm falling apart. But little by little, just keep showing them your heart, showing them the results of the students. I think I'm in now. Do you know what the mayor called me?
Who was that?
On the podcast? He said, I'm a Hammontonian.
Yeah, it is. It's official.
It is official now.
Right there.
But we worked hard, man. And so that's in Hammonton. Oh, so what did I do? I got myself out there. And for anyone who I can't speak for someone who opens a school in a big city. Let me talk about people who are going to open a school or take over a school in a small town. Let the town know who you are. If you are about the kids, they will see it. I'm out there. I'm not making any money. I'm spending my own money to bring the wheel out and give out prizes at the Halloween parade. I'm going to be spending 6 hours dressed up as an elf at Main Street at Anada's. Make sure you guys see me there. I'll have the wheel. From being Maui and acting like a goofball to going into the public school and telling a big story or something. Get yourself out there. Make yourself as available as you can to the parents who need you, and be ready for it to be a 24/7 thing. Especially if you have kids, then it's really 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Absolutely. And the big thing I think you said too is that the criticism. People are going to criticize it. People are going to say things, and it's part of the territory.
Because people don't like change, and when you change things, that people are scared of what they don't know.
Right.
But at the same time, doctor, every time now when I hear a compliment or someone say something great about my staff or what we're doing there, I think I feel it tenfold because of what I went through those first couple of years.
I believe transparency is a big part of that. You ever seen the movie 8 Mile before?
With Eminem? Right. I've never seen it, just like scenes from it.
So at the end of this movie, he is in his rap battle with this one guy. And the guy has all this information that he's going to use against Eminem. But Eminem decided to just tell every bad thing about himself, that the guy couldn't even say anything at the end of this battle. Like, he was completely transparent. He's like, yeah, I am this, I am that. And then he ended up winning because he was so transparent. And I feel like, and that's kind of the mode that I take with people and everything. Like, this is who I am. Right? Yeah. You either going to accept it or not accept it. Anything else beyond this is made up. Like it's not. I gave you every bad thing. Part of the reason I wrote the book is I've exposed myself to everybody.
You sure did, man. I love it.
This is it.
I think it's amazing.
Right. So once you get past that, and then people see your genuine heart and things and that nature, everything else kind of just flows from there. So even from an organizational standpoint, I'm quick to tell people, like, here's where our deficiencies are. I'm going to be honest with you. This is what we need to work on and fix. I know this. We're going to work on it. But here's also some good things, the wonderful things that we're doing, too, as well. So my door's always open. I'm transparent with my students. I'm transparent with my parents. And
you know what's beautiful about that? Is that it trickles down, too. It trickles down to your students who then feel like, well, if Dr. D'Amiso can be imperfect and go out there and act like silly Hulk or whatever it is you're doing, man, I could too. He's cool. I want to do that too. Same thing with my students. Hey, I'm an open book, guys. Feel good about who you are.
Even from, like I said, from an organizational standpoint, I feel like that there's power in that as well. Like, like I said,
there is power in that.
That's what we're about. We're working in the social sector. It's not going to be perfect. There's not.
We're people.
It's going to change every other day. It's going to change. So, but I think that's a huge part of it. And in any business, and I said this before, there's two different sides of it. There's the business side of it and the content side of it. So those of you going into teaching and wanting to run a school, you're probably going in to influence people and that connection with kids. But there's this business side of it that needs that attention too. So it's kind of it's tough to navigate. And a lot of businesses, a lot of schools fail because the owner's caught up in content.
I'm really lucky. I have Lisa, and she's really lucky she has me. Can I go back to? I didn't finish that answer with the kids.
Absolutely.
I thought about it. The two other values is, and I love that you feel this way too, is that I want them to be comfortable feeling uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Everything great in my life, and I'm sure the same can be said for yours, comes because we faced our own fears, our own discomfort, and we went out and we did it, and we felt good, and we learned from it. I tried that with my kids. My son has already competed in grappling tournaments where hundreds of people are watching all around. He won. They gave him a sword, dude. He won first place. He got a sword. My little 5-year-old at the time. They get in front. I had them get up in front of audiences if they're willing to. I don't push them. Right. I don't want them to hate it. Right. There's a very fine line, so people need to know. Like, you don't push them. Only you push them a little bit. A little bit at a time. Absolutely. And if they're ready to be pushed a little bit more, push them a little more.
Right.
But be uncomfortable and go out and do great things because of it. Mm-hmm. And the other one is just tied to that, and that's courage. Mm. Be courageous.
Right. I said it before. Like, I feel like I got to manufacture struggle for my kids on some level, and just so that they can be uncomfortable. So it comes in the form of sports. It comes in the form of my daughter wanted to have a birthday party here for one of her friends, so I made her write a proposal. She was at 9 at this time, so I made her write a proposal and pitch the proposal. So listen. It was like I want every list itemized of everything that you want, balloons and how much it's going to cost. So she did a little research and figure out how much balloons cost and all the stuff. I made her look into her little piggy bank. So how much money do you have, and how much is your budget, and how much do you need, and then she would ask me for X amount of dollars to compensate for the party or whatever. So she pitched the idea to me. So I could see it was uncomfortable for her, and she had no idea what she was doing at first. But she wrote it, and she gave me everything that I wanted. She pitched the idea, and then I was going to be petty and reject it.
Oh, no! Why?
Because that's what happens in the real world. But I didn't remember she's 9.
Oh, my gosh.
So, she had the party and everything, but I find these situations where I can kind of make them feel a little uncomfortable.
I'm stealing that idea. My kids are going to write a proposal for everything from now on.
Yeah. It was to the point where she said, I needed like $80. She needed like $80 for whatever it cost or whatever. And I said, so where are you getting this money from? She said, I'm asking you. You're going to give me the money, donate the money to me. I said, all right. How much? That's where the piggy bank thing came out. Then she said she had like $20 or whatever in there. So I said, all right, subtract that 20 off the 80. So there's math in there. So now it's $60 you really want me to do. But I said, but it was the money she was asking was more than what was on the list. And I said, wait, there's $10 that it's not accounted for over here. I said, I'm not giving that to you. You said you need this, so I'm going to give you this. And then I said, you're going to pay me back with interest. She said, Daddy's a donation. Oh, you got it.
I love this back and forth. It's like she's trying to get an extra 10. You got her. But
I do that with my kids all the time. Like if I find something that they're interested in, I'll take it to the next level. Like my daughters are into slime, really, really bad.
Of course they are.
So we went to Boston to the slime convention.
Wait, that's a thing.
It's a thing.
All right.
Slime convention. So you go up there, they're selling slime, you're making slime, trading slime and everything. But I told her you're going to go up there with the idea that you're going to create your own slime convention down here. So she interviewed the owner and talked to her and, got the idea of what this slime convention looks like. She wants to do one down here. Oh, because they're interested in slime. I said, well, let's turn this into a learning experience, kind of make you feel uncomfortable. Now you got to go talk to the owner.
Could you do these things when they were my kids' age, like 6 and 4?
It was on a smaller scale.
Okay.
I just try to find their interests, right? And just try to...
How did you get them in the car? If you've got a good one for that, bro. I cannot get my 4 kids in the car.
Well, I don't know the answer to that one because I have a hard time getting my wife in the car. She's the one that's always...
Me too, yes. All of them.
What are you doing?
All right. There's no... Yeah, I'm here for an hour. Watch the whole movie in here.
I think what I do in the morning with my kids, because we leave... I set the alarm, and the alarm has a timer on it. So, say 60 seconds, and the house should shut up. So I'm like, all right, listen, you hear the beeping, we're out of here. So now they're scrambling. At least got them out the door.
All right. Yeah, step 1 complete.
Get them out the door. And then once they're out there.
Are they still in car seats? I don't even know if you need... No, they're good with that.
Yeah,
I cannot wait.
Oh, that's the best thing. The car seats are terrible.
Oh, my gosh. We got 4 of them all going right now.
Oh, no, so much better than just get in the car, put your seatbelt on.
We go.
And we're out of here, man. So, where can people find out information about, the podcast, and then Read School?
Okay, so we're all over the web, and definitely go to, I don't even, readpreschool.com, maybe, that's at least a question. Google us, Read Preschool. There's a whole 12-minute video. You'll get to see everything we do there. So if you want to find out about our school, check that out. We have a totally open door policy. We love people coming in and checking out what we do. Of course, it has to be by appointment. We don't let just anyone walk in, but come on in. You'll love it, and I think your kids will too. Also, if you would like to hear my new, I just started podcasting, right?
Really?
This is so new for me.
Awesome.
So
You're like a veteran. I feel like
it's so crazy. No, I'm a rookie.
Yes.
But if you want to hear me and the great people of Hammonton, listen to us on the Pillars of Hammonton. I hope to hear you there, and definitely like me on Facebook. Why not? I'm so bad at this stuff, man. I heard you going over your list at the beginning of this podcast. I'm like, this is what I am definitely not doing.
That's funny.
Yeah.
My house falling apart. It always happens on the podcast. But I definitely appreciate you taking the time out Saturday morning, coming down and chatting with me. I think you got some wonderful things going on down there in Hammonton. I'm hoping that it's not going to just stop there.
No, it will not. I'm going to be thinking of ideas for me and you to team up. We're going to be doing things in the future for sure, brother.
Absolutely. Sounds good. So again, for those of you who are following us, you can obviously follow us on theempowermentperspective.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, all of those wonderful places. Don't forget December 7th, we have that toy drive going on. Hit me up on empowermentperspective.com. Hit the contact button. Send me an email if you're interested in donating an unwrapped toy. We're all about helping people. If you didn't get an invite to the Christmas party, make sure you hit me up as well. That's going to be a great event that we have, and we have a live podcast there. We talk about Christmas memories and all that stuff, and giving back to the communities. Also, we are donating food for Thanksgiving, so if you're interested in donating in that, we can make that happen as well. I did forget to mention that in July, Stanger Avenue Community Day, Empowerment Perspective is going to be out there. We're going to do a block party, health screenings, volunteer, firefighter, recruitment things, wonderful things out there. Innovative schools, we're coming. San Antonio, November. We'll be in Atlanta in June, I believe. I don't know. We might pop up at your house next week if you're listening. Who knows? So shout out to my man Kareem Spence. We're working on our presentation with Jamie Roberts for the Innovative School Summit. So shout out to them as well. And until next time, stay empowered.